can you shed some light on how the undergrad applications are evaluated holistically and how important are personal letters and letters of recommendations?
Yeah, it's going to be probably different at every school, but taking a holistic approach to our students is that we're reviewing all of the aspects on the application. To be very frank, we primarily look at academic success, and so the coursework that you take, your grades from that, and then also we want to see if you're going to be a fit for our university and really add to the community.
Hi everyone, welcome to AECC Thoughtcast. If you're an aspiring international student who's constantly looking for more information on higher ed, then your search ends right here, because every week we bring you the latest insights on higher international education and some of the top universities around the world. And today's episode is going to be even more exciting because we will be focusing on US undergraduate programs. So let's get started. Our very special guest today is Ms. Ciara Parker. She's the Senior Assistant Director for International Admissions and Recruitment in University of Dayton. Welcome, Ciara.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Can you say a few words to our students?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. It's such a pleasure to arrive. This is my first time in Delhi, and I've felt so so welcome. So at University of Dayton, it's primarily my role to work with incoming international students, answer any questions that they have, schedule appointments, work with families, and help them through the admissions process. So anything ranging from initial questions about the application process all the way through getting admitted. That's kind of my role as a go-to person at UD.
Absolutely excited to
talk
to you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so my first question to you is that when it comes to US education, there's a lot of misconception that is there in the mind of Indian students and their parents as well.
Yeah.
So for example, they believe that to get admitted into US universities, you need exceptionally high grades, or it is very difficult and it's expensive for a middle class family to afford a US education, or maybe the transition to US student life is supposedly very difficult for a student.
Right.
So how would you address these concerns?
So let's first touch on the cost. Because a lot of times is that there's a lot of high quality universities and institutions in America, and prohibitively, like, students oftentimes are not able to look into some of those schools because there's a perceived notion that cost is going to be a big barrier.
Yeah.
And so my recommendation for whatever university you apply for is to understand the scholarships that are available, such as merit scholarships or financial options that are available for Indian students.
Right.
And so to give you an example, University of Dayton is a private top-tier research university. We're located in Dayton, Ohio, about an hour north from Cincinnati. And it's and so the nice thing is that, including our merit scholarship options and financial options available for international students, is that it could be around $17,000 a year for our students to go to, which is a great price for our university.
I agree.
Yeah.
So we also have to, we've touched on the cost. We also have to talk about the transition and the high grades for admission.
Okay.
Yeah.
So merit scholarships at University of Dayton, so they're largely based on academic performance. And so we primarily look at grades, but however, we understand that Indian students, they take their examinations very seriously. And so that's a lot of what we look for whenever we consider our students for merit scholarships. It's not a separate application. You're automatically considered, and it's actually the same for both our domestic and international students.
Oh, wonderful.
It's the same amount across the board.
Okay.
And so it ranges between $17,000 per year and $33,000 per year that students can be eligible for, and that's for each year for the 4 years. Also, too, we offer a $4,000 textbook scholarship for our students who end up meeting somebody on the international admissions team or meeting through this AECC office and speaking with either myself or my supervisor and kind of just answering any questions that you have. So just by having that meeting is that you're eligible for that textbook scholarship, and it's $500 a semester, $1,000 a year, $4,000 in total.
Okay, so that's quite affordable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. So when it comes to US education, do international students have any specific advantages if they study an undergrad degree vis-a-vis a postgrad degree in US?
Yeah, so I think it's going to be entirely up to the student, right? So everything is going to be, so at least at University of Dayton and a lot of universities in the US, is that it's going to be very specific to you as a student. However, my recommendation would be is that you're interested, let's say, for example, is that you're looking into, an undergraduate program in the US, my recommendation is to kind of consider your options a little bit earlier rather than later, because we've seen a lot of applications from Indian students who come into a different track. So let's say, for example, they're in a humanities track, but if they want to go into a STEM major, they might not actually have the prerequisites for that specific program. So my recommendation is to consider your options and also take some mathematics courses as well, just so that, you can kind of broaden your options in case let's say you change your, maybe you're a psychology major, but you end up wanting to do engineering. You can meet those requirements by taking some of those mathematics, and science coursework as well. But in terms of, an undergraduate versus a graduate program, it's going to be entirely on what the student wants, you know, and so there's benefits to doing your undergraduate degree, in the US, and there's benefits to doing your graduate degree in the US. But I think the most important thing is understanding what you as a student want. And so we can talk a little bit about what undergrad student life is at UD for international students.
So even in my counseling days, whenever you would talk to parents, they would often say that I would prefer to send my kid to US for a postgrad versus an undergrad because they're too young. They're barely 18. So what kind of safety measures and what kind of support system do university campuses provide to reassure the parents that their kids are safe?
So for University of Dayton specifically is that we offer a lot of support for our international students. So we have an undergraduate population of about 8,100 students. About half of them actually come from outside of the state of Ohio, and we have around 250 students who are coming from outside of the United States as well. So we have quite a robust support system for our international students, but our domestic students, and so for all of our students we have a lot of support. And so for our international students, we offer an orientation a week prior to all of the students arriving. It's vast, it goes over the resources that are available. I understand that a lot of parents have concerns about where the student, is their child going to be living. And so we 80% of our students actually live on campus. And so it really creates a very community centric environment. So they either live in the first year they would live in a residence hall or a dormitory, as a lot of students, or a lot of what it's kind of referred to as. And then we also have apartments, and we have a really interesting concept where we have an on-campus student neighborhood where students can actually live in houses on campus, but that's going to be after their first year. But then in terms of having roommates, because I understand that, you as a young person, having cultural similarities is really nice whenever you're coming to a country. You can choose to live with who you want in your dorm. There's different ways to do that. We can dig into that, probably another day. But you do have the advantage of, if you want to be paired, with another Indian student or an international student with a similar background, or even a domestic student.
So that option is there.
Yes, it absolutely is. And then also too, on campus, we have a lot of support resources. So we have our international student office. They call it ISSS, and that's for visa support. It's for any sort of academic support as well, and it's just kind of a go-to resource for international students throughout all 4 years of their program. And then one of the last support resources, we have a lot of stuff, but just kind of touching on it is that we have a really, really fantastic kind of security support. So we have on campus, we have police, and we have on campus patrol. They patrol 24/7. And then also too, our police are actually they're similarly trained to actual police officers in the state of Ohio as well. And then we have security alerts as well. So it's really we have kind of a policing policy as well, where it's very community centric, where it's relationship building and kind of feeling very supportive. So it's a very safe campus environment. Most of our students live on campus. You're going to be interacting with this, kind of the same people or, other students all the time. So students are not going to be left on their own, and that's a big benefit to it.
Yeah, and that's very reassuring, I'm sure, for the parents.
Yeah. And then, another thing too is that we have really, really great programming as well, obviously in the classroom, but outside of the classroom is that we offer a lot of support resources too, such as we have our Office of Learning Resources. It's a great support for all of our students. But one of the things is that we offer writing support, academic tutoring, accommodations for students with any sort of disabilities. Maybe they need longer time for test taking, but it can even be something as simple as saying, hey, I've never actually created my own schedule before. Teach me how to do this. And so just take your, and maybe, like you have certain times where you don't want to be in class. Maybe you're not a morning person, or maybe you have prayer at certain times and you don't want to be in class during that time. Is that you can say, hey, these are the things that I want to block off. Or maybe, hey, these are the times that I really want to study. Take it there. And they can walk you through it and really support you throughout. So you're not left on your own at all, which is really nice. And I'm sure that there's a lot of resources available for other universities, but just this is kind of something to keep in mind whenever you're looking at your options.
So it can be customized as per every student's preference.
Yes, exactly. And then also too is that we offer academic advising very early on into your program. You work one-on-one. It's a very personalized, collaborative experience. Let's say, for example, you're a mechanical or maybe a mechanical engineering major, but you're entering your undergrad. We actually have really cool programs where it's a bachelor's plus master's degree. Maybe you're a year into your program and you're like, I really want to do a master's program. Instead of it, graduating and it taking 2 years after, we actually have kind of a program where it's 4+1. So you do your undergrad and then you do your graduate program. Or maybe, mechanical engineering isn't for you and you want to change your major, but you don't want to lose any coursework. So you work with your academic advisor and you can, change majors, or you can take classes that are going to be supporting your personal path. And that's something that we really pride ourselves on at UD, is community-centric value, really kind of having that like high quality educational experience, but feeling supported throughout. And that's something we really pride ourselves on.
Okay. Let's talk a little about the admissions.
Yeah.
So, when you talk to an aspiring undergrad student, one of the things that you often hear them saying is, what can I do to build my profile?
Yeah, right? Of course.
What kind of subjects I can study, or what kind of extracurriculars I should have.
Yeah.
So can you shed some light on how the undergrad applications are evaluated holistically, and how important are personal letters and letters of recommendations?
Yeah. So it's going to be probably different at every school, but taking a holistic approach to our students is that we're reviewing all of the aspects on the application. But at UD, to be very frank, we primarily look at academic success. And so the coursework that you take, your grades from that. And then also we want to see if you're going to be a fit for our university and really add to the community. And so that's where we take in that personal essay into that. So writing about something of that nature, kind of seeing a little bit more of your personality, kind of like where maybe in your involvement in extracurriculars. How are you going to be involved? We actually have over 250 clubs and organizations on campus.
Wow.
We have a massive Indian Student Association, very robust support. And then also too, you're going to just find something for everybody. Maybe you're interested in club sports. Maybe you're interested in, chess. Maybe you're interested in, anything. There's going to be something for everybody. And so kind of understanding, where you might fit in, I think is something that we take into consideration in our admissions.
So lots of options.
Yeah. But I would say academic rigor, kind of looking at grades, that's going to probably be our primary look at everything. But taking that holistic approach is a goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also continuing in the similar vein, our parents, usually the Indian parents, are very, very involved in the admission process, right? They would have like a million questions about the housing options, the visa questions. Yeah. How do you keep them engaged in the admission process?
Yeah. So I mentioned before that we do virtual appointments. Okay. Our staff is available anytime for parents, for students, and we actively want our parents to be involved in the process. It's oftentimes being part of the family is going to be, it's a family decision, sending your student to college. Yeah. And so we want as much involvement as possible. And because we really want our student to feel supported from all fronts. And so please ask those questions. Right. We have our support in admissions. We have our support for visa questions. Okay. We can answer some of those preliminary questions. And if we as an admissions department can't answer that, we have our ISSS department can answer that. We also have one really cool thing at UD is that our faculty members are very involved in our students' lives. Yeah. So we have very small class sizes, 14 students to one faculty member, so 14 to 1. Class sizes of about 26. And so you get to know everybody. And kind of long story short is if you're in, parents or students are really interested in a certain program, maybe you're interested in a business program, reach out to that finance professor that maybe you connect with online. And 9 times out of 10, actually probably 10 times out of 10, you're going to, somebody's going to receive a response, or we can connect you with a faculty member that we think that would be a great, great person to talk to, for your family. So, yeah.
Okay. So Sierra, when it comes to the job market, so much of focus is now on how much practical exposure does a student usually get. So at University of Dayton, what is the kind of practical inputs that a student can look forward to in terms of research projects or co-op options or internship?
Okay, that's a really good question. So the way that we do things is that we really focus on what they call experiential learning, or they call it it's essentially hands-on learning. Okay. So it's what you've learned in the classroom, applying that to real-world experiences. And so we have a number of ways to do that at UD. So one of them is obviously we have an office for it, so they can connect you with a lot of different options. Another thing is that we have tons of different co-ops and internships. It's going to be program specific. Okay. And so let's say, for example, you are an engineering major. We actually have something called the Ethos Center, where you can actually apply those engineering experience or the engineering knowledge to cultural immersions, both domestically in the U.S. and internationally as well. Okay. And so that's available for all of our students. Like that's one example. But then also too is that we have a lot of different opportunities on campus where we actually have one of the largest student-run businesses in the country. It's called Flyer Enterprises, and our undergraduate students can be anything from a barista all the way to the CEO of Flyer Enterprises. They don't have to be a business major, but it really gives them kind of that hands-on experience where, maybe you're working in the coffee shop, you're getting that hiring experience, you're getting that customer service experience, you're getting a lot of those experiences.
Yeah, the full circle.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just one example, of course. And then also too, is that so that a lot of times is working on campus, is that we actually have a lot of opportunities for all of our students to be able to apply to different roles on campus. It's obviously, it's contingent of hours or contingent upon your visa. Yeah. It's up to 20 hours per week.
Right.
But you can actually apply for, as an undergraduate student, international student, you can apply for these jobs on campus. And to give you an example, one of my student workers is a Chinese student. And so, so we like that as well. And there's a lot of opportunities for our students to get that hands-on experience.
Right. When it comes to the STEM subjects, there's a lot of positive noise and a lot of attention that STEM students usually get. Yeah. But when it comes to non-STEM students, what kind of courses does UD have, and what kind of support do you give them to make sure that they have equal opportunity in the job market?
Yeah, absolutely. So at UD, we actually have 80 different academic programs across 5 accredited divisions. So it's not just STEM majors, lots of different opportunities that are available. Okay. And then we also have a very, it's quite a robust interdisciplinary curriculum for all of our students. It's something called a CAP. It's different curriculum, but it's available for all of our majors, and we offer over 500 different courses within that CAP program. So let's say, for example, you are really interested in psychology, but you have a religion course, maybe a world religion course that you need to take for it. There's coursework that actually ties both of those interests together, and your academic advisor can support you throughout that to be able to help you curate your degree program according to what you want, not just for STEM majors, for all of our majors.
So you get the best of both.
Exactly. And then also too, a lot of that hands-on experiential learning opportunities, it's available for all of our students, not just our STEM students too.
Also, when it comes to US undergrad degree, there's some sort of uncertainty related to it, maybe the long-term value of US education for an undergrad. Right. So can you talk about some alumni success stories or some graduate employability percentage that can reassure the parents that it's worth the investment?
Yeah, absolutely. So at UD specifically, I think that everything is going to be curated to like what you as a student want to do, or what your son or daughter wants to do. Okay. And so I think that, for example, at UD, we actually have over 130,000 living alumni around the world. So, and then also too, is that so we have a very great career services department. A lot of times is that we can kind of connect you, but I think ultimately it's going to be up to the student to kind of find those long-term prospects. Let's be realistic. And so, but however, kind of setting you up for success is very important. So within 6 months of graduation, 98% of our students, domestically and international students, are either employed full-time, they're working within a formal service organization, or they're continuing their graduate studies. And of that 98%, 96% of them are working within their chosen field.
Okay.
So we have really great outcomes for our students.
Right. Also, when it comes to the first 6 months for an international student, it's bound to be tough, right? They're
Right, of
leaving
course.
their home, their friends, their family.
Yeah.
And also, I believe that for Indian students, there's a bit of hesitancy in making friends or finding your people and your tribe that you'll spend the next 4 years with.
Yeah.
So, are there any specific events that you do only for international students to find friends and to find their people?
Yeah, absolutely. So we offer an orientation that's specific for international students. And so it's about a week before all of our students arrive on campus. So it kind of gives a nice step into it. It's on the quieter side. You can get set up where you're going to be living. You can meet other international students. You're going to be taking some, kind of intro, welcoming, type classes. And then you're going to dig into your actual coursework whenever class starts.
Right.
And so that kind of gives you a nice introduction, a very soft introduction into it. But then also, I think we had mentioned too, is that we have over 250 different organizations and clubs. We have Division I sports, so it's a really fun opportunity to kind of get together. And then also too is that within our curriculum is that our professors are actually required to touch base with our students on a regular basis. So let's say, for example, midterms, roll around and, students maybe hasn't participated as much as they, potentially could. Professors check in and they say, hey, I want to make sure that you're doing okay. I've noticed that maybe you've missed a couple classes. I want to support you however you can. And so that's something at UD is that we really, really put a lot of value on you as a person and being able to support you and feel, very welcome. And so students are never alone. You're going to be living with, with people that you want to live with, like we had talked about. You're going to be, in the classroom with people who really get to know you, your classmates, but then also your professors. And then also too, you're going to be able to kind of find, what works well for you. Is that, what works well for one of your friends may not work well for you. But you're going to kind of find your place at UD. And that's the important thing, is feeling supported all around. You're never going to be left on your own.
And it's so wonderful that individual attention can be given to each international student. I think that's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. And I think knowing what resources are available to you is incredibly important as well. I think that whenever I was an undergraduate student, I didn't go to UD, I went to a different school. But I think knowing what opportunities are available to you is incredibly important. And I think that that's something we place value on too, is, hey, if you have a question for something, this is where you go. Or, hey, we're just checking in on you to make sure that you're okay. And I think that that's something that's really valuable.
And that's all addressed in the orientation.
Yeah, it's orientation, and then all throughout your program. You have that academic advisor, you have that support all throughout. And then you have your coursework as well. And and then you have your fun outside of school too.
Right, absolutely. And let's talk a little about the US job market.
Of course.
How is the US job market for an international student right now? And I also wanted to discuss what are the top industries that a student should keep in their radar. So, Sierra, when it comes to the trends on what kind of courses the students are opting for, let's talk about the last 2-3 years. Have you seen any changes in the kind of courses that students are opting for? What are like the top 5 or 6 courses?
Yeah, so University of Dayton, I would say that a lot of popular degrees that students apply for is, we are very known for our business programs, our STEM program, or our engineering programs, science programs as well. And so I would say that those are probably the top options. Computer science is a really big one too. So I would say for international students specifically, engineering, computer science, and then business. So those are going to be the top ones. But then we're also starting to see, like you had talked about before, is that our non-STEM majors coming in too, because there's a lot of interest, from a lot of different programs, and getting that, getting the opportunity to study at UD and, is really great.
So what would be the top 3 courses?
In terms of, I would say computer science is going to be one. Engineering, whether it's like civil, mechanical, that's going to be another one. And then finance is a very popular one that students are applying for too. And that's going to, but we also have really fantastic communications coursework. We also have a really fantastic education programming. So there's a lot of opportunities available for our students.
Right. And to wrap up this session, thank you for the lovely session.
Yeah, thank you.
To wrap up with this question. So what is the advice that you would give our prospective undergrad students and the parents who are preparing for admissions in US next year?
Yeah, so I think that finding fit is obviously very important, and so exploring your options, no matter where you want to go to school, looking at the university, looking at the program, looking at the support that you're really interested in having, and I think that those are kind of the big options for you. Cost is important, of course. It's definitely a big consideration, but then also fit is important too.
Right.
Scholarships, like we had mentioned, merit scholarships, other financial options, but then kind of in preparation for coursework, I recommend taking some math courses, some science courses, so it opens up your opportunities for no matter what program you're going to be applying for. So
and applying early, I think.
Exactly. Of course, applying early is a big thing too. Is that when you apply early, it's good. You can apply through the Common App. Our application is free to do, but then also too, it gives you the opportunity to kind of have peace of mind, about being accepted, making those next steps, scheduling your visa appointment too, and so that you actually have the time to be able to do all of those things to really get ready to go to school.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
I hope you loved today's video. Please like the content, share it with your friends, and subscribe this channel for more such episodes. Also, don't forget to visit your nearest AECC branch to start your application process.